First of all, thank you for choosing this session, and I'm looking forward to sharing some insights and considerations with you today on the topic of what makes a digital age leader. Can I first of all, just by way of introduction, invite you just to enter a comment in the chat box, just sort of stating whatever interested you to join the session, and if you're happy to share what is your role. And while you're doing that, while you're introducing yourselves, I will do the same. So my name is Cindy Nicholson. I'm the CEO of Braintree, which is a coaching and mentoring organisation, and we have a particular framework for building digital age leaders, whether that be through our relationships with corporate clients or through individual clients. My background started in investment banking back in London, and after moving to Australia I got involved in software technology, and in 1998 created my first company, which is Braintree. That's also undergone transformation over the last 21 years. I'm a serial entrepreneur, having set up other technology companies that have gone through either IPO, acquisition, or are just in that startup phase right now. So I think one of the key aspects to helping develop digital age leaders is that I've had to adapt and grow and reinvent my business, so I do understand the journey. I can see that many of you have added your comments, so thank you and welcome. It's really interesting to see who's here with us today. And today we're going to talk about what makes a digital age leader. We've got about 30 minutes in this session, so I'm going to spend a bit of time just sharing with you some of the thoughts on this question, maybe just for around 10 to 15 minutes, and then we can open up for conversation. I invite you to pop questions in the chat box, and I'll be sure to leave some time at the end to go back through and answer them, and hopefully we'll have a bit more of an open discussion. But failing that, my email is on the screen, so feel free to take a note of it, and if you can't find me through that email address, I'm sure you'll be able to reach me there, but if you need to reach me otherwise, just pop onto our website, which is braintree.net.au. So if we don't get through all the questions, do leave them with me and we can take it up offline. So let's get started. I'm sure everyone's familiar with the term IR4, or commonly referred to as Industry 4.0. I'm going to share a short video with you to help put into perspective the radical changes that are upon us now and how rapidly we have and continue to evolve since the first industrial revolution in 1760. So just bear with me while I switch over to YouTube and show you this video. So as you can see, the fourth industrial revolution enabled businesses to create products and services quickly using digital technology, which in turn can force businesses and business models across each and every industry to have to change the way that they operate. As leaders, we've had to adapt to this change so that we ourselves are prepared for this radical change. We can adopt it, embrace it, and most importantly, demonstrate to others how this is actually done. Digital transformation doesn't just impact technology, it impacts people and leaders. So to create the culture and the practices of a digital age leader, we need to look at the practices required to succeed as such. For decades, transformation has been driven through professional domains like technology, project management, and even product and service design. The rise of technologies like lean, agile, and design thinking have raised hope, but still little evidence to suggest that we are addressing the real disconnect that lies at a cultural level, needing leadership to drive that change. And as the challenges of digital transformation are being felt across the globe, a key factor and real driver of change is beginning to be recognised and prioritised, and that driver is leadership. Leaders who are competently driving successful transformation and are aware of the changing world we live in. Leaders who recognise the change that happens at a human level, and that cultural shift requires trust and belief. That trust and belief needs to come from leadership. The term leadership, in the Dillon way, which we'll talk about through this presentation, is defined from the profile of a person, not the label. So whilst we support the development and transformation of leaders in positions of leadership, we also support the recognition of leaders dispersed throughout our systems and demonstrate the mindsets and behaviours that we're willing to follow. So bearing in mind The transformation through in these industrial revolutions has gone on for over 100 years at minimum, and this graph shows the exponential growth of data and technology in just the last decade. However, you'll notice that business and leadership has not developed at the same pace. Generally speaking, we're all struggling with change and digital transformation as leaders, change agents and organisations. Investment into digital transformation grows year on year, but the headlines continue to show this decline of impact and success. So why is that? Often digital transformation programs fail because the leaders are not adopting the correct mindset to take the people and the organisation through the transformation needed outside technology. Some of the examples of the impacts from Industrial Revolution 4.0, Industry 4.0, include general diversity, globalisation, being tech ahead, and being data savvy. Essentially, the data is what's really underpinning this industrial revolution, and the exponential growth is just beyond what we could have ever imagined. So it's really critical that leaders understand these impacts. So what does that mean for us as leaders? Industry 4.0 required us to start changing our leadership styles to align with the convergence of digital, physical, and biological components of our ecosystems. This touched on almost all industry sectors, and through this transition, unless organisations were able to stay ahead of the curve, adopting new strategies, embracing the change, they'd simply be left behind. And we often refer to this as the Kodak Moment, due to the inability for Kodak to evolve with the industry innovation and evolution, and then they failed to transition into digital photography. And as this saying says by Albert Einstein, we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. The conventional way of doing business no longer exists, so typically driven by a top-down approach through command and control and across domain silos and focused on process improvement and sustainability. These sort of models just don't work in the current world. In the digital age business, it's people-centered. It operates across networks with collective intelligence to drive innovation and relevance in a fast-paced world. Let me repeat that. In a digital age business, it's people-centered, operates across networks with collective intelligence to drive innovation and relevance in a fast-paced world. It's very, very different to the old traditional ways. And therein lies the digital age leadership. So where problems are identified amongst communities, including our customers, decisions are made across collectives so that an incredible amount of intelligence is used to make decisions. And by encouraging the voices of others, we improve visibility to new ideas and innovation. Where data is shared amongst these groups, it can provide quantitative and qualitative insights to support decisions and outcomes. So what does that say about digital age leaders? Well, we're more connected than we were ever before through the explosion of data and technology. We embrace the convergence of all segments across audiences, countries, industries, divisions, etc., and clarity through storytelling to agreed, reached outcomes. So the question is, if leadership is about making others better as a result of your presence and making sure the impact lasts in your absence, then how do you put this into practice? So we developed what we call the Dillon Way framework, which means to follow in Welsh. We base this on 4 key values. The first is people first, digital always. The second is being tech ahead. The third is data mindful. And the fourth is being open by default. And then we developed a profiling assessment tool, which enables us to measure ourselves against some key principles within the Dillon Way framework. And the results of this assessment will determine where you sit in terms of maturity on the digital age leadership scale. The assessment is based on 7 principles, and through this very complex assessment you can gauge yourself across different levels, and most importantly, the output enables the opportunity to delve further into the program and utilize some of the other tools aligned with the coaching services to bring the leader up into areas that they wish to expand. We work with our clients on these key 7 principles to bring them up in their ranking as a digital age leader, remembering that these leaders are being the person that they want to see in others and are creating a followership. So to summarize what it takes to be a digital leader, you need to start with a people-first approach, which is based on core values and key principles, to enable followership, to implement small changes bit by bit, and to create the culture required to be a truly digital age organisation. Now, what I failed to mention is that we're now on the cusp of Industrial Revolution 5.0, which is bringing the focus back to humanity. An article developed in collaboration with the World Economic Forum recently puts it this way: in contrast to trends in the fourth revolution towards dehumanization, technology and innovation, best practices are being bent back towards the service of humanity by the champions of the fifth. In fifth industrial revolution, humans and machines will dance together metaphorically. And to finish that off in the context of this conference, Industry 5.0 is expected to put women at the forefront. For those who may not know Martha Plimpton, she is an American actress who began her career at aged 8. She's now 50 years old, and she says, I quote, "Women have always been at the forefront of progressive movements." This is true even with regard to the fifth industrial revolution, and it will play a critical role in shaping the part of women in Industry 5.0. So as businesses hire more unbiasedly, women and girls worldwide will be empowered, and that's fantastic news.